Hello, my name is Joshua Bradley Garrido, and I am the director for my film installation project intended for TYA named POGI. Before we get into what this project entails, it is important to dive into the TYA materials that inspired and drove the project into what it is now. The first point of reference that inspired me was Matthew Reason's exploration of the artistic agency for young audiences within performances. Looking back on my theory reflection paper, there were two aspects of Reason's work that I wanted to highlight in my project. The first being how Reason describes young audiences' ability to structure their memories around favorite moments due to being able to reenact and take ownership. While my project does not necessarily employ this post-performance reflection periods, I found that this idea of memory ownership and a wide variety of different memories being represented was something I wanted the project to take in some form. The second aspect being highlighted is in this quote from Reason's work. By engaging in the admittedly complex and methodologically challenging task of exploring how young audiences engage with theater, we can recognize the complexity and richness of their lived experiences. From my understanding, Reason wants to take in the daunting task of reaching into the audience, also taking into consideration that we presently are not part of this young audience's demographic, and provide them the means to find solace within their own explorations. Overall, Reason's work helped me establish many of the practical elements of the piece that would allow active participation with young audiences. The second point of reference lies in the possibilities of new media being incorporated into TYA performances pioneered by Michel Lefebvre and the company Youth Theatre in Montreal. Being that my background lies in film, many of my creative pursuits were met with an uncertainty of whether film is able to conjure the same challenging and insightful work as a live performance of TYA could. Once again citing my case study on youth theatre, Lefebvre's challenging of traditional theater performance by integrating new media in his company's works provides an important connection between young audiences and their evolving technological environment. Furthermore, this work Youth Theatre conducts bleeds into Matthew Reason's approach with providing a space for young audiences to explore theater and art in a way that grants them as much power as possible to truly delve into pieces, with programs that allow young audiences to both experience and create for themselves. A good example of this is Youth Theatre's devised piece workshop called Molecular Futures in 2019. Youth Theatre gives a description on their website. Poetic, highly visual, and inspired by personal experiences, this new creation for young audiences, 6 to 12, will use new media to explore the future of life itself within the context of increasingly advanced biotechnologies. The installation and workshop aspect of this piece inspired many of the engagement aspects of my project. Overall, a key aspect that I want to be able to explore is how can I make an engaging piece that will embrace the unique sentiment of creating personalized experiences for each individual member of the young audience and translate that to a film format. My last point of reference, which is the most foundational point of inspiration, is the writing workshops conducted with Christopher Duthie in class. The exercise of recollecting on a moment of change and transformation particularly resonated with me, in that revisiting these moments of change has provided interesting insight into how I, as an individual, have grown into the person I am today. My motivations with the piece are to provide vivid recollections of my own experiences growing up that would resonate with the audiences born years before me that would experience the same trials and tribulations I have. I must recognize that I am now at an age where I'm slowly drifting away from being a member of the young audience demographic. However, I believe there is validity in striking while the iron is hot, recollecting these youthful memories as they are clear in my mind from only a couple years ago, and being at an age where I can clearly recognize how these experiences were formative in my own life. Christopher's exercises were the catalyst that led me to finding what story I wanted to tell, how I wanted to tell it in terms of how it manifests in my own life, and how I believe it will be impactful towards young audiences that come to experience it. POGI is a film installation project intended for ages 15 and up, exploring personal experiences of my own past surrounding issues such as masculinity, mental health, relationship with authority, Filipino identity, personal expression, and growth. While there is no underlying plot, the episodic nature of the scenes are little tableaus of moments in time that have been significant in my own development and maturity, particularly highlighting the years of 15 to 20. This tableau-esque style is inspired by the same story structure of Vivre sa vie by Jean-Luc Godard, a French New Wave classic that tells the story in 12 fragmented scenes. Scenes can range from personal recollections of the past through interviews or voiceovers to more abstract deliveries that provide an audio-visual representation of moments in my youth. The delivery of this film is unique in the fact that there are 3 separate projections playing simultaneously side by side from one another, lined in a row of 3. This takes direct inspiration from The Unfinished Conversation by John Akomfrah in 2012, which was showcased at the MoMA, which was Akomfrah's first large-scale video installation, building on his work as part of the Black Audio Film Collective, a group active in the United Kingdom from 1982 to 1998. Our show will be delivered in the exact same fashion, with asynchronous video tracks being played at the same time. We further expand on this multi-scene execution by providing unique audio experiences via the use of a 3-channel headphone system. Young audiences are able to switch between 3 audio channels in the same fashion they would switch their focus between each screen. A dial will be given to each set of wireless headphones that will allow easy changing between channels, with the different audio following the video on the screen as well. One can switch from actual dialogue being heard, then switch to the audio on another screen, or perhaps by switching to some spatial ambiance or diegetic music to accompany their video viewing experience. The purpose for this 3-way and personally tuned experience is to allow the audiences to get lost in their own experiences while watching the film, with no one having the exact same time while viewing. The venue wouldn't have to be particular other than the fact that young audiences have enough space to roam freely and be able to change their viewing distance, whether they wish to sit closer and focus on one screen at a time, or further back and take in each scene as a whole. I have 2 samples in order to provide a more clear representation of what the project is. While we can't emulate the full 3-screen nature and multi-channel audio system, please keep this into consideration when experiencing the sample excerpts. The first excerpt will be the coupling of 1 audio channel with 1 video track, keeping in mind that the individual can change their view or channel at any time. I will maintain the audio and video for the sake of the demonstration. This scene highlights my personal experience of roaming the city on my bicycle at a young age, inspired by a moment in my teenage years where I would have to leave the house in order to get away from my authority figures at home. The environments and sides of buildings are imperative to creating a vivid recollection of the spaces I occupied at a younger age in order to avoid being scolded or punished by my parents. A point of transformation where I had to eventually learn to face confrontation in a healthy manner. The audio channel will simply display diegetic music that accompanies the scene, one that is not inherently synchronous with the video track. I will play the excerpt now. The second sample is an audio excerpt that would be available via one of the channels. This excerpt follows my own personal experiences with anxiety and how I learned to cope, or maybe was unable to cope, through music, friends, and online help. This is a crucial experience of mine growing up, learning to legitimize my mental health and learning to allow myself to come to terms with something I cannot change. I will play the portion, keeping in mind one will be watching the screens provided and can tune to another channel at any time.
If heartaches brought fame.
You have one new voice message and 4 saved messages. To play your messages, press 1. To change your greeting, press 3. To access your personal options, press 4. New message, July 8th, 6:12 p.m. Sent by...
Hey, I was just calling to see how you were doing.
I'm just wondering if you're okay. I haven't heard from you in a while. I really haven't heard from you in a minute now, and I was just worried for you.
I just want to know if anything happened, or if you're just can talk about it. But either way, like, I'm here for you, and I just... No pressure or anything, though. For real.
You know, I'm always here to talk to you, man.
I just want to know what's going on.
Please, man.
So, call me when you get this.
I miss you, bro.
Just please call me soon. We just care about you a lot, you know? And I'll always be here for you. Text us anytime. The line is always open. You just need to answer.
To delete this message and go to the next, press...
I'd like to make an appointment with Doctor. Oh, he's not in. Do you know when he'll be back? No, it's not urgent. I can call next week. No, it's no trouble at all. Thank you. Okay, bye-bye.
The cure isn't therefore to try to dispel anxieties with logic. It is to try to dispel it with love. It is to remind the anxious person, who may be ourselves, that we are not inherently wretched, that we have a right to exist, that past neglect wasn't deserved, that we should feel tenderly towards ourselves, and that we need, both metaphorically and probably practically too, a very long hug. The logic of this analysis is truly counterintuitive. It suggests that when panic next descends, one shouldn't spend too long on the surface causes of the worry and instead try to address the self-hatred fueling the agitation. Anxiety is not always anxiety. Sometimes it's just a very well disguised, entrenched, and very unfair habit of disliking who we are.
I have several objectives for POGI in relation to TYA. Firstly, I want to allow young audiences to experience film in a way that they typically wouldn't be exposed to, via the film itself and the unorthodox delivery. Sharing my love for this medium is important to me, especially in planting seeds of inspiration to young audiences, where they will most definitely have a majority of the art they experience be in these digital forms. Especially in the realm of theater, where I believe some of the best performances I have seen have been progressive and innovative in nature. Secondly, I want to provide teenagers a perspective on how their identity and experiences are important despite being at a young age. To ignore factors of youth development is detrimental to how we learn to accept ourselves moving forward into our lives. To highlight these issues, especially as they pertain to people such as myself, I want there to be a sense of solidarity among us, where I often felt in my experiences I was alone in many of these matters. Lastly, I want to inspire the filmmakers of the future. From my perspective, it seems that TYA is a long-term developmentary sector of theater that will only grow further and evolve in ways that we may not see in short successions of performances, but in the overall changes in the theater developments over time. I believe film needs to follow this very same progression in order to maintain its cultural relevance while still maintaining artistic integrity and expression. Thank you for watching. I hope you enjoyed my pitch.